Stop. If you're seeing this right now between 1 and 4 a.m., don't adjust the volume, don't scroll, and don't tell yourself you'll come back later. This isn't background noise. This isn't a coincidence. And no, you didn't really find this video. It found you. Stay still for a moment. Not because I said so, but because something about this hour is already holding you in place. You weren't searching for answers when this appeared. You weren't looking for a sign. You were just awake, restless, quiet. Maybe tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, and yet here you are. That matters more than you think. This hour isn't random, but I'm not going to explain that yet. Right now, all you need to know is this. Most people who are awake at this time are distracting themselves, scrolling, numbing, avoiding their thoughts. But you didn't land on something loud. You didn't land on entertainment. You landed here, and that alone separates you. Pause your breathing for a second. Feel how quiet everything is around you. Notice how even your thoughts slowed down the moment you pressed play. That doesn't happen by accident. Don't skip ahead. The people who skip ahead usually regret it later, not because they missed information, but because they missed his timing. There's a difference. Something about this moment is fragile. Like a window that closes if you move too quickly, like a thought that disappears if you try to explain it. If you leave now, nothing bad will happen immediately, but something subtle will stay unresolved. You'll feel it later. A small restlessness you can't name. You might already feel it now. This hour between 1 and 4 a.m. is when the mind stops performing and starts confessing. It's when the noise of the day finally loosens its grip. It's when truths you avoid during daylight begin floating to the surface without permission. That's why you're awake, not because you drank caffeine, not because your sleep schedule is broken, not because you're bored. Those are surface explanations, convenient ones, but not the real reason. There's a reason your thoughts get heavier at this hour. Why old memories replay? Why questions you don't ask out loud suddenly demand attention? Why your phone feels less like entertainment and more like a lifeline. And it's important that you hear this carefully. Not everyone who is awake right now is meant to be. Some are awake because they're running. Some are awake because they're anxious. Some are awake because they've trained their minds to never rest. But a small number are awake because something inside them is being quietly prepared without their conscious permission. That preparation doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't come with visions or voices. It feels like pressure without panic, awareness without explanation, a sense that something is forming, but you can't see the shape yet. If that description makes you uncomfortable, good. That means you're still present. This is why multitasking right now matters more than you realize. If you split your attention, the moment dulls. If you scroll away, the alignment slips. If you tell yourself, this is just another video, your mind will close before the deeper layer has a chance to surface. And no, this isn't fear, it's precision. You don't need to believe anything yet. You don't need to agree. You don't need to label what this is. All that's required right now is that you stay, that you resist the instinct to escape silence by filling it. Because something is already responding to your attention. The reason this feels personal is because it is, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, almost unsettling way, like hearing your name spoken softly in a crowded room and not knowing who said it. If you're still here, it means part of you sensed that leaving now would feel wrong, even if you couldn't explain why. Good. Don't move yet. What comes next isn't loud, but it is specific. And it only makes sense if you stayed through this moment. Just stay. There's a reason your body is tired but your mind refuses to shut down. Not the obvious reasons. Not the ones you tell yourself during the day. This hour exposes what daylight keeps hidden. Between 1 and 4 a.m. the mind stops cooperating with routine. It stops playing roles. It stops pretending everything is fine. That's why thoughts surface now that stay buried when the sun is up. Not because you're weak, but because resistance is lower. You may notice your thoughts looping. Not racing, looping. Certain memories replay without warning. Conversations from years ago resurface. Decisions you thought were settled suddenly feel unfinished. It's subtle but persistent, like something tapping gently from the inside, asking to be acknowledged. That's not insomnia. That's not overthinking. It's the mind entering a state it rarely reaches while awake. At this hour, distractions lose their power. Entertainment feels hollow. Even scrolling feels slower, heavier, like your attention doesn't want to be wasted anymore. You might open apps and close them seconds later. You're not bored, you're unfulfilled by noise. And there's often a strange emotional neutrality that comes with it. Not sadness, not peace, just a quiet pressure, as if something important exists just beyond reach and your mind is circling it without landing. You don't talk about this to anyone because it's hard to explain. Words cheapen it. During the day it disappears, but at night it returns consistent, patient, waiting. Here's what most people don't realize: this state doesn't happen to everyone. Some people are awake right now because they trained their nervous systems to never rest. Some are awake because anxiety keeps them alert. Some are awake because they're avoiding something they don't want to face. But there are others, fewer, who are awake because their inner world is being quietly rearranged. For them, this hour feels different. Heavier but not threatening. Intimate but not emotional. It feels like being held in suspension, not pushed forward, not pulled back, just paused. You might feel disconnected from your old motivations. Things that once drove you don't hit the same. You're not depressed, you're recalibrating. And recalibration is uncomfortable because it removes familiar impulses before replacing them. That's why the pressure feels silent instead of loud. This is the phase most people misinterpret. They think something is wrong with them. They try to fix it with distractions, productivity hacks, sleep aids, or constant stimulation. But that only delays what's already happening beneath the surface. Because what's forming right now isn't conscious yet. It's not a plan. It's not clarity. It's not a calling you can name. It's alignment happening below awareness. The subconscious does its deepest work when the conscious mind loosens control. That's why dreams happen. That's why insights arrive in showers. That's why answers appear when you stop chasing them. And that's why this hour matters. If you've noticed that you're becoming more selective with your energy, more observant, more comfortable with silence, that's not withdrawal. That's refinement. Your mind is learning to sit with complexity without demanding instant resolution. Most people can't tolerate that. They need stimulation, reassurance, certainty. They need everything explained quickly so nothing lingers. But you're still here, which means you can tolerate the unknown longer than most. Not everyone who's awake right now is meant to be awake. And not everyone who watches this will recognize themselves in it. Some will feel nothing. Some will dismiss it. Some will scroll away, irritated without knowing why. That's how you know this isn't for everyone. Because if this is resonating, it's not because you were told something new. It's because something inside you was already active, and this simply touched it. You don't need to understand what's forming yet. In fact, understanding too early would interfere with it. Some processes require darkness the same way seeds do. Exposure too soon stunts growth. So if you feel like you're in between, not who you were, not yet who you're becoming, that's not confusion. That's transition. And this hour, this is when transitions do their quiet work. Stay present with it, not to force meaning, but to allow it. Because the people who can sit here without escaping are the ones who notice when something finally shifts. There's a reason this window exists, and it has nothing to do with sleep patterns or discipline. Between 1 and 4 a.m., something specific happens inside certain people. Not spiritually dramatic, not mystical in appearance, but decisive. This hour signals a threshold state. It's the narrow space where the mind is quiet enough to listen, but still awake enough to choose. Most people never experience it consciously. They're either fully distracted or fully unconscious. But you're here aware, hovering in between. That matters. This window appears when your internal noise has dropped below a certain level, when defenses are down, when old identities loosen their grip just enough for something else to take shape. It's not about receiving instructions. It's about being the repositioned. And here's the part most people miss: nothing forces this moment to mean anything. It's an invitation, not an event. If this hour is ignored, numbed with endless scrolling, drowned with noise, rushed past, it closes quietly. Nothing breaks. Nothing dramatic happens. Life continues. But something subtle calcifies. The sensitivity dulls. The alignment delays, not forever, but long enough to feel disconnected later without knowing why. You might notice it as impatience that doesn't make sense, or dissatisfaction with things that used to be enough, or a sense of being slightly out of step with your own timing. On the other hand, when this moment is honored, not with action, not with effort, but with attention, it does something small but permanent. It sharpens perception. It trains you to recognize internal shifts before they announce themselves externally. That's why this hour keeps returning. It's not calling you to do anything yet. It's asking whether you can stay present without demanding clarity, whether you can resist turning this into content, conclusions, or comfort. People often think growth comes from answers, but some forms of growth come from restraint, from not collapsing mystery too quickly. The ones who rush to label this moment lose it. The ones who sit with it begin to notice patterns others miss. This is where discernment is trained, not through information, but through tolerance for stillness. And that's the decision hidden here. Not a loud choice, not a public one. A private one that no one will see and no one will validate. Will you treat this hour like background noise or like a signal? There's no reward handed out immediately, no emotional payoff. In fact, honoring this moment often feels anticlimactic, like nothing happened, like you wasted time sitting quietly when you could have been distracted. But later days, weeks, sometimes months, the people who stayed present here recognize the difference. They react slower. They choose more carefully. They sense shifts earlier. They're less reactive to pressure, less desperate for explanation. They don't move faster. They move cleaner. That's the preparation most people skip because it doesn't feel productive. If you're waiting for a final reveal, this is where the video deliberately doesn't give you one. Because this hour isn't about receiving something from outside. It's about noticing what's already happening inside before it has words. So here's the only thing to sit with, not as an instruction, not as a rule. When this window opens again, tonight or another night, don't rush to fill it. Don't immediately seek stimulation. Don't ask for meaning too quick. Just notice what rises when you stop reaching for noise. That's it. No conclusion, no reassurance, no dramatic ending. Just the awareness that this moment asked something of you, and how you respond to it is entirely private. Stay with that.